Hey guys, Chris with 4K Motoring back with you today, and today's the day. We're going to go ahead and replace our factory head unit, the radio that came with the Bose sound system in the 2001 Corvette, with our new Pioneer Android Auto head unit. We'll show you what it takes to do that. It should be a pretty simple process. You guys have seen me take the at least console bezels apart before, so that process will be the same. I'll kind of breeze through that, and then I'll show you the connection. We got all our wiring harnesses. I'll make sure I link them up here or down in the description, all the wiring harnesses that this takes for the new head unit to talk to the factory Bose system, so we retain our factory audio. Hopefully it should be a plug and play installation. Drill a couple holes in the actual hardware here and should be off to the races from there. So stay tuned and let's see what this takes. So for those of you that remember the last time here, this bezel has to come off, as does this bezel here, the actual console piece. They're two separate pieces. So we have this unit, the little plug that comes here, and this unit that all comes out, comes around to the front here. It's all one piece. So we'll get that off. It just requires a couple screws. Remember, we've got behind this panel, we've got a little Torx bit. We've got up to 2 Torx bits here. My car was missing one, but there should be 2 Torx bits there. We have to take our shifter and shift boot apart. Inside our console, we've got 2 plugs that hold the 10mm bolts, and then there's 2 more under this plug, and then all this comes out. This piece is gone. We're not going to use it anymore. We're going to replace it with our new unit. Climate control system is going to be moved down, relocated a little bit to make room for the full doubled in unit up there. So let's go ahead and take this off. It's very hot in the summer. I do need to find a different unit for that. And then our whole boot should unclip. Got the clips around the side, so that should come out. Now this is free to come off. Okay, as you see, we have our short shifter there, still installed. Looks like it's doing well. So we're going to go ahead and pop off this cover. A little pry tool. Doesn't take a whole lot to pop it off here. Make sure we have a good spot to keep all these things. Here's our T15 Torx. That one's out. Remember, we've got potentially 2 more here. My car only has 1, but hopefully yours has 2. Alright, and that is all mine has to hold this whole front unit in, aside from the clip that holds the cigarette plug in. So not a big deal. We're going to move now back to the center console. Well, now that I've removed everything from the center console, better access to it. As you guys can see, my hinge is broken here. The 2 side pieces that let it function the way it's supposed to is broken. And this cap is now split because of that. So I'm probably gonna have to order new ones of both of those. There's plenty available, they're not too expensive, but it is just something else I gotta do. These covers here just pop off. Just a little pry tool can do it. And once you have that, you should have 10mm bolts exposed. So we'll go ahead and use our trusty ratchet here. Both of those are out. Now we're going to go and pop off this piece, which doesn't take a lot of effort, just a little pressure on both sides. And remember, we've got a couple plugs. We'll close that for right now. So we've got our cigarette outlet plug in here. Press on the top, it'll slide out the back. That is released. We've got our passenger airbag light. We've got our little retainer clip there. So let's see if we can lift this up enough to slide that out, and we can. And then our actual wiring harness for both the F45 suspension and for the traction control active handling system is here. It's just a simple push to release. In here, there's 2 more 10mm bolts that we'll go ahead and take out. Alright. And if you guys are like me, because these things go with this console unit and it has a lid, they're going to go inside the console unit as far as I'm concerned. So now that this is all released, we'll go ahead and pull it out. So there should be nothing in the way here. I'm just gonna pull the back piece up and back. So we have one button underneath yet that we have to unclip. That is for our fuel tank, fuel door switch. This one again just has an easy bottom pry button. You can see we have some sound deadening here that's got sticky over time, not a problem. Our front bezel, see, should come up here. Back, rotate. So we have this cigarette outlet yet we've got to undo. Just a very quick side clip and that should pop off. So now we have this whole unit exposed here. This is the piece that we're replacing right here. This climate control system's got to be moved out of the way a little bit lower to make room for the slightly taller system here. We can see we have mounting hardware already in place. We're going to remove that to take these units out. Then there's a template that's going to involve cutting a few pieces and drilling a few new holes so we can relocate this a little bit lower and we can fit the new head unit in. So one thing I failed to mention before was probably should do it before you start disconnecting things, but definitely before you go any further, disconnect the battery of the car. That way you keep any shorts from happening and you keep the car happy. Especially those of you that have had these C5s for a while, you know how temperamental they can be. Just disconnect it. So we're going to go ahead with an 8mm. We're going to start by pulling out the climate control. It just has 2 screws and I think 2 pins. So it's got a locating pin down here and up here, and then screws in the other spots to hold it in. So we can see our single plug on the back here. Has one clip on top. You can wiggle it on out. It makes progress, but man, that is a stiff connection, which I guess is good. Those of you that have the issue with the dim backlight, mine has it, not enough to worry me. You can take this panel off, and I guess there's something that a solder that breaks in here that you can resolder to get it working again. I'm not going to do that today. That may be a project for another time, but just know while you have this out, if that's an issue you have, take a look. I'll link a video here that I find for it up top, and you guys can do that as well while you have this out. Next, we're going to come on to the factory head unit. Same thing, you guys can see the actual locating pins on this one, but you can see where they were. So that's got stuck a little bit. Let's go ahead and pry it out there. There we go. So you can see even for this factory unit, it's a tight squeeze here. There we go. Big old thing. So we've got our couple sockets on the bottom here. I'll bring you around and show you. So this is the factory wiring we have. So we've got, looks like 2 to 3 connectors here. This one has a top connector. It comes out. This has a bottom, these both have bottom connectors. 1, 2. Okay. And then we have our antenna jack. So if you all have watched any other videos on the subject, you see there's a little bit of discussion and differencing on how people cut these 2 brackets out, but there are 4 rivets on each side to get these 2 brackets out. Some people try just drilling straight out on them. Other people say to use a sawzall with metal blade, just cut through them and be done with it. Because these are coming out, we're not using them anymore, we're going to try the sawzall route and see if that works first, and then we will go from there. So let's get this shifter as out of the way as we can. Obviously cover up areas here and make sure all your wires are out of the way first. So after looking at the instructions, it does appear that the brackets left here are okay. It says cut off anything that comes out to the side from them, so cutting straight across seems to work out pretty well. I think they'll be fine. What we've got next is this template. So it's gonna go right here and right there. You can see where our factory holes lined up and where our new ones will now. It says use an 1/8 inch drill for these. I don't know that 1/8 inch will work. Obviously the threaded parts, probably, I don't know if those are being retained, but the new holes will need to be much larger than 1/8, probably 1/4 inch. So as this says, we're going to secure this with the factory screws we took out. So we're going to go ahead and drill our holes. So let's take a look at this and see. So if we're still using these top tabs, these have to be much larger. So looking at the tops, go ahead and widen out these top holes just to make them kind of as large as these posts. That way when it goes in, they can locate just like that. These do end up being about 1/4 inch. So let's go ahead, we'll use those for centering holes. Okay, and again, since that should be all the drilling. All right, we are clean. They want us now to go ahead and pop this one back in. And remember, it's large connector that's down here. So we still have our cigarette outlet connector. This is our HVAC control. We've got our wiring harnesses for our radio here. So we'll make sure we keep them above. Okay, the kit came with 4 bolts. Gonna be 2 there, and obviously 2 for the new holes, I guess, up top. So let's go ahead and start to screw these in. So here are our connectors for the radio. And I'll go ahead and bring in our new Axis wiring harness, and we'll make sure everything plugs up. Some of the other videos I've seen online, they go source power leads and accessory wires and whatnot and seem to have some issues. In my mind, the factory radio worked by itself, which tells me there's power already to these harnesses. So I don't know why I would go run new power when there should be already power here. But let's go ahead and wire it all up and see how it goes. So reading the instructions here regarding the actual wiring harness. So this is what's included in our Access integration kit. We've got a big box and we've got a little box. We've got our factory harness connection, and then we've got our soldered in radio connections. So what it tells us to do is connect from our Access wiring harness. There are 2 identical 12-pin, you can see 2 identical 12-pin connectors. The one with the speaker wires, so not the red and yellow wires, is going to go to this big box, and the one with the power wires is going to go to this little box here. Okay, we've got our connectors here. These 2 are going to mate together. We can see they kind of only fit one way here with these connectors. So we'll put them in. We felt it latch, so that is good. This was the piece that was connected into the factory radio. So this has all our speaker wires. I imagine what's accessory and power wires used to be red. Everything else looks speakery. So that is done. All right, this filter here is going to go to the vehicle as well. So that's going to plug in the output here. And we can see there's only one clip it goes to, and that's this big one here. Let's see. Pins are down towards the bottom. So it's going to go in this way. Snaps in, great. Don't know what that one's for, but it doesn't appear we have anything for that. So I'm not sure. And then we also have our antenna wire, which should be going to the back of the new radio as well, just without a lot of wiggle room. This gets us a little bit of play, a little bit of adjustment that we can play with here once we get it all hooked up. So they recommend before you actually go and hard mount this, go ahead and get everything connected, turn it on, and make sure it works. So we're gonna go ahead and run our rear view camera now, our backup camera. We'll make sure that's cleanly run in. I think we've got room for that. So I went ahead and removed the factory 12-disc CD player. There are 4 10mm screws here. Just to peel back a little bit of carpet and you can get that out. This wiring harness is included, so we'll look and see what that meshes up to. I'm hoping that's the one that we don't have anything to go to. So I've gone ahead and pulled up all the carpeting for the back pan of the car, so we can figure out exactly where we want the wiring for the backup camera to come from and go to. So let's go ahead and pull the license plate frame so we can see where we're going to mount it and kind of see what we have access to inside the fiberglass tub of the car. So this is the camera I'm going to be using. Brand is Nikita. It was one of the higher rated Amazon ones. I'll go ahead and post a link for that. So it's got about a 1/4 inch stem on it that's going to go up through the car. So my plan is, if all goes well, I'm going to go ahead and pull this license plate off. I put some masking tape up top here. You can see it's about 5 inches across, so I measured out about 2.5 inches, so we're right in the middle, and I made a mark. If it's showing up there, there you go, there's my mark. So that's where we're going to drill, right up there. I should have access through the panels behind here to get up to that to put all the bolts in. So T15, remember, just 4 of them, pulls out, disconnect the electrical connectors, and this whole piece should come out so we can get that started. Okay, with those out, it was easier just to disconnect the whole bulb, pull them out, than it was to disconnect those connectors. So I did that. They're LEDs, they should be fine. So we'll see our mark, we're gonna drill up there, and then we're gonna have to gain access into one of these panels here. So that's what I came under here to look at, was to see what's gonna be the easiest way for us to get into the car. So this is where our factory CD player was. So I'm thinking we can probably source that somewhere and just seal it up afterwards and let the wires run around. So I think that's gonna be my attempt because it's gonna be the shortest distance. So let's go ahead and give that a go. Okay, so I went ahead here. I went right at where the top of this line was. So it really could have gone kind of either way. That seemed like it was a good spot. It wasn't too far out. Keeps it kind of hidden. So I went with a 1/2 inch hole, 1/2 inch bit going straight in there. You can see the light. Show you where that comes through. It comes through right here. See, this is all of a fiberglass panel. Starting to dry out a little bit. So they went right through there. Was able to get my connectors through there easily. There's a carpet that goes over top, and I should be able to seal that up with some resin pretty well. So I'm not too worried about that. We'll make sure we vacuum up. So just so you guys know, license plate frame is right about here on the car. So that's where you're coming behind, so we should have plenty of access. So I had to widen out the hole that was up here to a 5/16. At that point, I took the wiring harness that was attached to the camera. Comes with these loop wires so you can change function of the camera. I didn't want the guidelines that were on the image, so I cut the green wire per the instructions. Everything else I'm leaving. So I ran it up through there and around the back. You can see where it's gonna eventually plug in here, and we got some power wires to connect to our backup lamps, and that should be it. We've got a, I believe it's 13mm nut here that's gonna go on top, so from the inside. So we'll go ahead and get that wrapped up. So this is tight. It does have a little piece of 3M adhesive that goes on the top to kind of keep it steady and to position it. Okay, we're getting down to the wire, as they say. We've got our new head unit here. Looks like it's gonna fit in. We have our side mounts on it. So all we really have to do yet is wire the microphone up. See, I've got the wiring harness. This one came to the car. Both of these are from the car. I don't know what this goes to. I'm hoping it's the CD changer. It goes to our access unit. It goes to our wiring harness, has this piece that does something, has to do with power, evidently. Hopefully the retained power. And then we've got our wiring harnesses that go to the head unit. We've got an additional wiring harness for the head unit that goes to the backup camera for all the AV stuff. So I'm not sure exactly what needs to be hooked up there. They're labeled pretty well, and I think the only thing I need is the rear view camera in. There is an auxiliary in that I may at one point get to use. I'm not sure what I'll do with it yet, but as of right now I'm just going to leave that alone since this has Bluetooth and Wi-Fi actually with the wireless Android Auto. So we've got those two things that'll plug into the head unit, and then we've got our microphone that'll plug into the head unit. I was thinking I'd put this somewhere near the factory air intake temperature sensor because that's right on the dash where I already talked to and has a nice clean bezel for it. This is rather large, so I don't know if it's going to fit there. I don't really want to block that, but I'd like to use that area. So I'm going to unwind it here real quick just to see where I can fit it. So I think I'm going to try and get it in over here and up on this bezel. So let's go ahead and run the wires behind everything. It does fit there pretty well. So let's go ahead and give that a go. See if it works. Go ahead and pull our cabling through and get it tidied up. We'll go back in and zip tie everything and clean it up here once we ensure it all works. Okay, the only thing I'm not sure about is the actual FM antenna. So I don't have a lot of room on that. I believe there's a spot on the back of this that it may fit into. I believe that's what that is. But that hole is a lot bigger than that thing is, so we're gonna see what fits and what doesn't. So let's go ahead and best we can connect our wiring. Okay, 1 and 2, I believe. Okay, that is connected. We will go ahead and connect our microphone that says mic right there. And let's go ahead and see if that will connect. Looks like it will. Let's go ahead and set that right there for now. Moment of truth here. Let's go ahead and turn the ignition on and see what we get. All right, we have lights. It's making all sorts of noises. So our HVAC still works, which is good. And we appear to have our radio. There we go, we are pairing now. On the Pixel, yes, pair. All right. And now it is set up. To continue, select Android Auto under your car screen. So let's go Android Auto. There we go, now we are set up. Perfect. Let's see if we have radio. I got both sides here. I got my rear channels. Sounds good. All right. Well, we have working radio. It turns on. Everything works the first try. Let's see if that backup camera does anything. So I've got nothing automatically switching here. Let's go make sure our lights come on. Yeah, we have lights, so that camera should have power. Let's see if I have to switch to it here. There we go. So I've got camera and it's on here and that looks good. You can see both sides, looks pretty straight. You can see my camera view there. Okay, so it is connected to reverse. I wonder if I can set that as something. So I'll figure that out, but we have a working camera, we have working speakers, and I think this has been a success. Let's go ahead and finish buttoning it all up. Hopefully I don't disconnect anything, and we'll go from there. Everyone likes a good cold start. Well, we're done. The install is complete. It actually went a whole lot smoother than I thought. Looking at some of the other videos, like the one I've linked up here, they had a little bit of issues. I think they did some extra steps. Like I said, the factory head unit had power going to it already. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Just do the connections as I said, and man, this thing looks great. So we're back, just buttoning up the install of the infotainment system here in the Corvette. Got a couple pieces that I was waiting on just to really finish this up. Overall, it's been working great. One issue I've been having is that the backup camera is not automatically detecting. It's not turning on when I put it right in reverse. I have to hit the button to go over there. I've gone through the settings, it's not one of those. I believe I've missed one of the wires when hooking it up. One of the wires that searches for that signal in order to make that automatic switch happen. So we're gonna go ahead and do that connection now. It should hopefully be a pretty easy process. We also have a new cigarette outlet to install since the other one was pretty well seized in the last console. What I ended up getting is, instead of a full cigarette outlet, it is gonna be this dual USB-C, USB-A charger that's gonna go in there, has a voltage display on it, that I think will make it feel a little bit more modern in the car and be a little bit more useful here for the future. So we're gonna go ahead and put that in as well. This all should be a pretty easy process. The hardest part is gonna be getting it all taken apart again. You guys seen that 100 times. I'm not gonna show you that, but let's get into it. Okay, so remember that this is the factory clip for the cigarette outlet that came in the car. We have a positive and negative going to that. So we're gonna go ahead and cut those and resolder in some new lines to go to the new one, because this clip will not fit the universal one we got. So we're gonna go ahead and unscrew this back cap on our new power source. We're gonna keep our cap on there. I'd like to keep that. So we've got our outlet hole here. this is going to go into that it looks like it's not going to fit. Okay, so I had to do a little bit of adjustment on this, and I went a little bit too big, but this wouldn't fit into this hole, both from the lip on the edge of it and from the hole itself. So I had to widen the hole, and I had to shave off the top and bottom of the actual port here. So you can see a certain angle, you can see the light on top of it. I can seal that up a little bit with some plastic, but from the way this will be in the car, it should look pretty smooth with the lights on there. It won't be able to fit the cap, but it should be useful. So we'll go ahead and wire that up now. We'll go ahead and finish wiring the reverse sensor here, and hopefully that'll be all we need. Well, that wasn't too bad. We're now done. Have the console all put back together. Everything is working. And check this out. Outlet looks good there. And we'll go ahead and put the car in reverse, and the camera displays automatically. Switches right back. So I believe with that, we are done with this install. I like how it turned out. The color is pretty close. The texture doesn't quite match the rest of the dash, but I actually like it a little bit more. It's a little easier to keep clean. So I don't know if I'm gonna paint it or do anything with it. But with that, I hope you guys have enjoyed. I hope you guys like the product. To me, this definitely makes the car look a lot more modern and becomes a lot more usable on a daily basis for me. So I'm very happy with how it turned out. As always, thank you guys for watching 4K Motoring. We really appreciate it. Please leave some comments. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know what you guys have done to your cars and if you've liked that or not. And we'll catch you next time.